Hello, I'm Steve Peters. I'm from the Energy Sector Group at the Asian Development Bank. I'd like to thank the Government of Malaysia, the Ministry of Environment and Water, and Green Tech Malaysia for inviting ADB to present at IGEM 2021. Today, I'd like to give you an update on exactly what ADB is doing in the hydrogen economy and our activities going forward. Before I do that, I would like to recognise my colleague Toro Ito, who is the Senior Energy Specialist for Gas, and colleagues Dan Millison and Darshak Mehta, who helped in this presentation. ADB is doing 5 major activities: supporting government policy development, enhancing hydrogen trading hub platforms, knowledge sharing, scaling up of pilots, and supporting finance. ADB's done a number of workshops in the hydrogen space. These have been disrupted by COVID, but the work continues. We're also working on a study on hydrogen trading markets and use of hubs in Asia, and also lessons learnt from the LNG industry. And we have done some small areas of financing in relation to fuel cell buses in part of our Tianjin-Beijing Hebei air quality project, and also at a bus rapid transit project in Jilin in China. We've produced a hydrogen handbook, which is for our developing member country officials and ADB staff to look at ways to assess projects related to hydrogen. We've done a number of feasibility studies, some of which are ongoing, in places like Nepal, the Maldives, and Palau. And these look at the use of integrating renewable energy from hydro, solar, and mixed-use activities to create opportunities under SDG 7. And then there's another project which we're working on, which I am leading, which is the marine aquaculture, reefs, renewable energy, and ecotourism for ecosystem services, which is a very long name. Has lots of A's and R's and E's, so we've shortened it to the MARES project. And this looks at integrating activities across the supply chain related to offshore marine renewable energy into hydrogen and related regenerative activities. This is currently being undertaken in the Republic of Palau and the Republic of the Marshall Islands. And Malaysia has kindly signed on to take part in the project, and the Maldives and the Philippines are in discussions with us at the moment as well. So what is the MARES project? It's really looking at taking marine renewable energy, converting it to hydrogen, and then looking at alternative fuels, whether they be ammonia, methanol, or ethanol, looking at ways that we can scale up the export of that hydrogen excess, and also the use of fuels locally for transport and industry, but also teaming that up with regenerative activities which support the overall development of the above activities, which includes marine aquaculture and other regenerative activities, including nature-based defences, and that will in turn attract high-value tourism. So here's a kind of summary of what we're looking at doing, and on the top left-hand corner, you'll see the renewable energy sources going through electrolysis. Obviously, there will be desalination there until such technology is available that we can make hydrogen from seawater, which is still a way off. Export markets and local use of hydrogen, looking at marine aquaculture, cultivated reefs, and then ecotourism. Going down to the bottom right-hand corner, which is the key activity, which is regeneration. How do we create a regenerative brand of energy? So from an energy point of view, this hydrogen economy has been done for quite a while. The Orkneys have been very successful in developing this technology and creating a platform for energy using hydrogen and marine energy. Denmark is doing offshore wind to provide heating through Ørsted. And Siemens and Total and a number of other companies have released information about energy islands and more use of hydrogen as from the marine environment. So what is the market for marine hydrogen, or marine renewable energy to hydrogen, I should say? Well, let's just look at a number of ADB's developing member countries and assume that we take 1% of those, the exclusive economic zones, and the government puts solar on that 1%. That will provide enough energy output for the world's entire electrical usage. Now, obviously, we won't be able to get it to the world, and that then requires us to think about ways that we can convert it into a discrete fuel that we can then transport. And obviously, hydrogen's a possibility for that. If we did that, we could displace 40% of the world's natural gas supply. Again, there's significant investments and activities involved in changing infrastructure, but again, it's a market. The best thing, though, is that we can avoid 5 billion tonnes of CO2 emissions a year, which is a huge number. It's about 20% of the shortfall that we currently have every year. And we could create an industry worth $1 trillion a year, assuming we reach that golden number of US $2 a kilo, which we're hoping to meet mid-20s, late 20s. So it's a significant market, and it's an opportunity for a lot of developing countries that they hadn't thought about. So the model looks, to explain the model and how we would roll it out. On the bottom left-hand corner, we have the sources of renewable energy, creating electricity that can then go into electrolysis and then can go into make alternative fuels. The use cases are very well established. We're not taking any technology which has not been done before. Some of them have lower technology readiness levels, TRL levels, but they're still able to be rolled out. The objective, though, from scaling up the research we're doing under the TA is to get advanced market commitments for buyers for producing regenerative green hydrogen. We need to get the people to buy it, and we need to set a price so that then the investments can come in to create that supply to meet the demand. So this is what the research project's looking at, and so we're about a third of the way through, and we will have a high-level investor conference sometime next year, which hopefully many of you will come to. But what's the objective with regeneration? What do we mean by regeneration? Well, currently we have extractive industries in the sea, whether it's pulling fish out of the sea or doing offshore drilling for oil and extracting activities. What if we could look at creating activities that were not extractive, but were regenerative? In other words, we could use the processes and co-locate other processes with them that would allow us to remove carbon from the sea and also look at increasing biodiversity and marine biomass. That currently hasn't really been a focus for most people in oil and gas. It will be very interesting to see how new energy majors develop. I know that there are some companies, third-tier energy companies in the region, who are looking at doing a number of these activities. I was quite surprised when we did some of the research. It's an emerging field. One of the ways that you can extract carbon from the sea is by putting a small trickle current into a steel structure. Anyone who's built wharves or rigs knows that when you do cathodic protection, you are accreting calcium carbonate to the surface you're protecting. We are able to, at a small scale, build structures very cheaply and very quickly that will be able to serve as living breakwaters or offshore coastal defences to allow protection for marine life, but also to grow these materials that then can be pushed onshore to make seawalls or to increase the height of atolls. And in fact, this process is the process by which atolls are formed. Storms come in, break coral reefs, push materials onshore, and that's how atolls get formed. So the driver for this, though, is to remove CO2 from the sea, or CO3 from the sea, to stop acidification, because acidification is a huge problem in our oceans. We're the small marine creatures that produce about half of our oxygen and sequester about a third of our CO2 are at risk because the acidic environment makes it very difficult for them to form their shells. So this process, by using this process, and we're doing it at scale, we may be able to reverse that or at least slow it down. So how do we then integrate all this together? Well, we sort of kind of already have. If you look at the Sea Ventures dive rig in Marble, is a great example of a rig which has turned into a marine diving environment. That part's done. And, you know, we're doing marine aquaculture. We haven't done marine aquaculture at scale to stop onshore pollution. A great example would be effluents coming from rivers causing red tides, which is a problem for Malaysia. That may be an opportunity, and that's one of the areas we're going to focus on in Malaysia. But also looking at ways that we can increase marine biomass, and we can create new industries for fisheries and for ornamental fish, which traditionally has been an extractive and very dangerous industry. We can change that paradigm to make that an industry that can actually put more back than it takes out and can protect species. So again, it's a way of looking at things differently. So what I've said today may sound a bit touchy-feely, is the way we might say it in Australia. But I would invite you to have a look at this and to think about this, ways that instead of saying, oh, we can comply with ESG, looking at ways that we can say we can make our business about ESG. We are an energy company with ESG at our core. We think those companies will be the resilient companies that come through the next decade and 2 decades to solve our energy needs. If you would like to see more or get involved in the project, please visit our data room or check out our website and reach out to us. We'd be delighted to hear from you. Thank you so much for your time, and wish you all very well, and take care. Bye-bye.